It happened about 12 years ago. I was living in London and was looking for something meaningful to do, but I was also looking for adventure. I remember looking online at some opportunities to work in exchange for food and accommodation. If I saw the same thing today, I'd probably consider it a form of slave labor, but back then in my early 20s, it was discovering myself. I stumbled across an ad looking for someone to do some gardening and landscape work on a Siberian husky farm in the Arctic Circle of Sweden, Lappland. The Scandinavian landscapes and culture had always intrigued me. I'd even done a basic course in Swedish, so I thought, why not? But they replied to my application with a rejection. This is hard work, not for someone that's a radio DJ from Australia. Anyway, the French guy before you only survived for 2 weeks. Are you sure you want to do this? And me being me, and never being able to shut my mouth, replied with, yes, I can do it, and let's be honest, how many people have you actually got applying to work in that part of the world? To which they replied, okay, you can come. I left that summer and stayed with a friend in Stockholm, a beautiful city filled with beautiful people, but with an odd silence to it that only became stronger the closer I got to my destination. The train took 14 hours, and why the fuck didn't I think about getting an eye mask for the midnight sun? At around 1 a.m., the sun would lower and gently glide along the horizon before coming straight back up. It was both haunting and endless. I slept for about an hour and spent the rest of the time watching movies and looking at the passing lakes. There were so many. The farm couple met me at the station and got me settled. They seemed nice, but their little college house was filled with husky stuff. Plates, calendars, figurines, placemats, tea towels, rugs, cutlery, stickers, toilet brushes. I was so fucking sick of huskies already, and I hadn't even met the actual dogs yet. But I did, soon enough, and they didn't disappoint. Adorable, fun-loving creatures with bewitching eyes. A few times a night, they would all howl together, piercing the sky for miles around. They all really liked me except for one. The one that stayed in their house. They had to restrain her a few times from trying to bite me. I spent about 4 days a week doing basic gardening and cleaning up around the surrounding forest. I would often go for walks because I could never sleep. Not only did the sun keep me up, but the animals would also never sleep. The birds would sing all night. There was a lot of wildlife and everything had this eerie kind of twilight glow to it. There was never any dark, and after a while I kind of forgot what the dark was altogether. I missed things, basic things. Took me a while to admit it, but I was a basic bitch stuck in the Arctic. Weeks passed, and the couple started acting stranger, feeding me less and feeding me later, constantly locking up their house so I wouldn't go in. They didn't trust me. It was midsummer morning. I woke up and they told me, today you're going to bury a dead husky and a dead cat. They're in the freezer. By this point, I was severely sleep deprived and also hadn't showered in about 3 weeks. They wouldn't let me shower because it wasted water. So the fact that I was making a pet cemetery didn't really bother me by this point. After hours of shoveling cold dirt, rock, and root, I carefully placed the animals, wrapped in black plastic, into the graves before filling them in and adorning them with piles of rocks. Makeshift tombstones. They sat me down and asked why it took so long. They then said to get out, and that it wasn't working out. I was in shock and I asked them why, but they didn't answer. I got in their truck, they drove me to a station. The only thing they said was get a train and look for a hostel. I sat at the station for hours until I finally got a train back to Stockholm. 14 hours later I arrived. My friend said I'd lost weight. I was exhausted and kind of lost for words, embarrassed. When we got home, he asked me why they did it, to which I replied, I don't know. Don't you think it's weird that they kicked you out right after burying the animals? What did that email say again? Which one? I replied. The French guy only survived for 2 weeks. He only survived for 2 weeks. What if you didn't bury animals at all? Did you see them? They were wrapped in plastic. How many graves were there? 10 or 12?